we'll check the.
Yeah, I did.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا شر ما قضيت فإنك تقضي ولا يقضى عليك إنه لا يذل من واليت ولا يعز من عاديت تباركت ربنا وتعالى فلك الحمد على ما قضيت نستغفرك اللهم ونتوب إليك وصل اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم ربنا اغفر لنا وارحمنا وأنت خير الراحمين آمين والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين.
Okay, please. Sure, yes. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We are reading from the Reasonings, and it is on page 6, the last paragraph, towards the end of the paragraph. I think that might be the last sentence, which starts from in addition. Now, in addition, new systems of education and human behavior, which are regarded as having no need for divine law, are completely unable to train the three basic human faculties. Again, so in addition, new systems of education and human behavior. So we see new systems of education and human behavior in terms of the way in the civilization the laws are determined. Okay, which are regarded as having no need for divine law. So these systems are completely unable to train the three basic human faculties, which are the intellect, desire, and anger. So unable to train these faculties or to properly or to develop them into wisdom, chastity, and moderation or chivalry, respectively. So these systems cannot develop these intellect, desire, and anger properly or to develop them into wisdom, chastity, and moderation or chivalry, respectively, nor to sustain them as such. As a result, humanity is in desperate need of prophethood, equipped with the balance of divine justice, which influences and penetrates human nature and conscience. Humanity is in desperate need of prophethood, which is equipped with the balance of divine justice. And this prophethood influences and penetrates human nature and conscience.
New system of education is materialist education, which is the materialist, which is based on materialist interpretation of matter. It means materialist interpretation of what is going on in this world, basing all the activities on their assumption that every activity is the result of another part of the creation, or they don't say creation in another part of the world. So it's a vicious closed circle. There is no external interference, or there is no real creator, ultimately. That's why new system of education cannot really answer human needs. When we say why, we will come to, when we start the divine law, we will discuss about it. Human behavior is based on the argument that human beings are self-sufficient. They know what is right, what is wrong from their own instincts. To make it easy, I will say that, because I don't like to use the terms, but humanitarianism. Human beings don't need divine guidance. If they really follow their own instinct, human qualities, they will find the truth, or they will have a happy life, or enjoy their life in the world. So, education, the new education, the human behavior, I understand in this sense. We don't need anything else to explain the universe apart from the universe itself. We don't need any source to control human behavior apart from the human beings themselves. That's what it is. That's what we are seeing here, experiencing, and that's what we are taught in the education system. Almost there is no other education system prevalent in the world.
I was just going to add, I think it's important to emphasize when you say that there is no need to understand anything in the universe other than the universe itself in its entirety. I think because one can claim that you can study enough of what's in the universe simply by looking at the universe itself. But to make a claim or make a bold claim to say that this understanding is complete and it's in its entirety, I think that falls short. Like, that's not a true statement.
I mean, you can ask why, or someone else can ask why to what you said or what I earlier said. Why? Why cannot they explain it? Because they don't provide the source of existence. They take the existence for granted. This is a typical argument. So here is the universe working by itself. So here I am, a human being working by myself. I happen to be in this condition. So I have to take care of, the universe takes care of itself, and human beings can, or also should or can, take care of themselves. So simple, it seems to be so simple. But of course, the following part of the sentence will say, human intellect, desire, and anger needs training.
Right.
Or who is going to control human intellect? Can intellect be satisfactory by itself? Can intellect find the way to act in the right way by itself? Or does it need any other, as the text says, wisdom? That the intellect needs the wisdom to be trained, educated. Intellect. Because we have to argue, but not at this stage. We argued also before. Nothing can be self-satisfactory by itself because their existence is dependent. Can be satisfactory. For example, the table cannot be satisfactory by itself because its existence is dependent. Mm-hmm. Somebody made it in this way. So if the table had consciousness and free will, so you would say, why did you make me? How did you make me? What am I expected of in my being in this way? But the source of existence should be consulted. And the source of existence of the universe under the witnessing of the universe shows that he has absolute qualities. He has absolute qualities. The absolute qualities require to guide what he has created. Do in this way, not in that way, where human free will and consciousness are interfering. For example, I don't need, for example, to tell I don't need my creator to tell me how am I going to shape my ear. It is beyond my free will, it is beyond my consciousness. But what I need, where I can freely practice my intellect and free will. So I need there some sort of guidance, any kind of guidance, but what this age is confusing, the human nature is made in such a way that they can appreciate the guidance. They cannot originate the guidance. They can appreciate the guidance after they are being, who will say, after they are being
implemented.
Sorry?
Implemented.
Taught.
Yes, after they are being taught. We learn it. If you are not, if you don't put yourself in the process of learning, it means if you don't receive teaching, you cannot develop your potentialities. So some of them, for example, the child learns through his own experience physical needs, but not his human qualities to be how to deal with the human qualities. Physical needs are physical, like my conditions of my stomach. I'm always surprised, when I eat something, stomach produces certain substance in order to digest it. How does it know? Who established the system? It's a meat. It's a meat made to function. But so I don't need to be taught there. But what I need to be taught in my intellect, desires, and anger represents, desire represents what? The side of human beings, they want to obtain what benefits them. Anger represents the side of human being, they want to avoid what harms them. This is called, in Arabic, I don't know how to say it in English. Two sides of human being. So how are we going to keep the balance? From one side, I want to have it. It's not wrong to want to have something, but at the same time, I don't want to harm and I don't want to be harmed. So how can I do that? How can I keep the balance between desire and anger? Not only anger that we get angry. No, for example, if something happens in front of you and think that it is harmful to you, you run away from it. It means really react. Run away from it. Try to avoid to receive the harm from that object. Sense of obtaining, getting, and the sense of abstaining and opposing, preventing, avoiding, both. How am I going to keep the balance there? Of course, I am not asking my creator to teach me how should I make my heart work. He has already established the system. I don't need it works there. But when it comes to emotions, which requires intellectual and free will interference, then how am I going to handle it? That's what I see this.
So when the text states that developing these three faculties results in wisdom, chastity, and moderation or chivalry, respectively. That, I guess what I understand from that statement is that these are basically the end results of these faculties. Or yeah, pretty much. So if I have intellect, that the purpose of having intellect is to be wise or express wisdomness. Same goes for desire. If I find myself wanting what benefits me, then chastity it's basically kind of I wouldn't call it its highest potential, but basically in a developed form, I'm practicing that. I'm existing in a state where
not to selfish.
Right.
How can where should I stop?
Right.
Where should I go? Until which point I should go? Where should I stop? Because human, we know that we discussed a lot about it, and human potentialities have no limit. Yeah.
So
I have to this, I have to have this, I have to have this one as well. Why not this one? Why not this one? Yeah. And also, for example, what the dictators, typically everybody but dictators do, if they see anybody or any group of people, anything which may not only destroy, may make their authority uncomfortable, unstable, what they do, in order to preserve my authority, I have to get rid of this man and kill them. Or really put them in prison under control, disable them. Where to stop? According to the king, he's right, because he wants to protect its authority. According to the other guy, he says, I have to exercise my right. And who is this king? Who's really preventing from what I think, doing what I think is true? Where are we going to stop? Because this is the conflict of interests. Where to put the limit? Who will put the limit? According to the king or the dictators, that is what they have the authority, and that is why they have to put the rule. According to those people who are not happy with the situation, of course they have to put the one. That is why they have to put the rule and limitations. That's why the creator is expected to interfere and give them guidance as we said this is very important, as an authority over everything. Where human free will and human intellect are set free, he has to give the guidance. As I said earlier, I don't need guidance from my creator how to make my stomach work. It's already there. Right? But I need the guidance where I am free to choose, to practice freely. I need the guidance where I can make sense of the things, again, freely, but using my intellect. And my feelings also need, because the feelings have no limit, so they need to be managed. By whom? Okay.
So how's this training from the human in the civilization, the education for the anger, that the things that we don't want to keep and no desires that we want to keep, how is that distinguishing from the divine? Can we make a clarification on that also? Because, I mean, there are, in this education, we'll also say, hey, yeah, don't, angry is not really something that a human being wants to be in, right? So you can go through some training and, think about
Training
something
according to what?
according to, again, the values of how this civilization.
Not the civilization, according to values of national interest. My interest, your interest. They cannot do that. As we read before, they may have some sort of, okay, it is better to think about it rather than not to think at all. Yeah, leave it as free as it is. But to think about it is better. Sometimes they may get something right, but not first universal, not permanent. They cannot get it. We cannot get it. We don't know what will happen tomorrow and how the people will react, which kind of feelings will develop, which kind of life conditions will emerge, and what kind of attitude we should take to the new emerging conditions. We don't know. And somehow, everybody is selfish. And I'll just go a little bit out of the field of our discussion right now. In the teachings of divine guidance, selfishness is not bad. But for the sake of what? I mean, getting all the benefits for myself and harming others and saying that, I'm selfish. But at the same time, everybody must look for any ways that they can save themselves from falling into mistakes or wrong decisions, making wrong decisions, fulfill the purpose of their existence. In this case, we have to be selfish. Do you understand that? But I have to save myself, and selfish doesn't mean that in this case, selfish doesn't mean save yourself and then forget about others. No. First, save yourself. And then, if you find it useful, you can share it. Yeah. For example, the typical historical evidence, historical event that the prophets, they receive the message and then deliver for themselves. And they are the first to practice. They must be the first to practice. Can you imagine a person preaches something and doesn't practice for himself? Doesn't work. And this person cannot be the messenger employed by the Creator. You'll come to this point. As a result, humanity is in desperate need of prophethood, equipped with the balance of divine justice. Divine justice means a justice, the system introduced by the one who gave existence to the universe, the human beings, by definition. So I will speak freely. If someone says, I'm not happy with the Quran, I'm not happy with Torah, okay, it's all right. If you are sure about it, if you have studied and reached that conclusion, okay. It doesn't mean that you should stop searching for divine guidance, divine justice. You still need it. You have to look or keep searching. until you are satisfied, because there must be a divine justice. There must be divine guidance. We need it because of the limitless of our human qualities and opportunities. Where to stop, where to start, where to stop, etc. Even some people say, well, because somebody may not be happy with being selfish. For example, if you need somebody who if you see somebody or know somebody who needs help, when you help him, in fact, it is good for whom? For this person or for me?
So first.
First myself. So I help in any case, helping not necessarily the material helping, in any case, giving good advice or being a good example. It's good for me. That's why I do it. But he can benefit from it, but that is the result of it. But essentially, that's good for me. So if I don't help somebody, which I can, or where I can help, whom I am harming first? Myself. Yeah.
Can you explain why it's good for you first and foremost to help someone?
Sorry?
Could you clarify why it is good for you before it's good for the other person?
So do you do it? You do it because you feel the need, and you are created with these qualities. You have to fulfill it. If you don't fulfill it, if you don't practice it, you will harm yourself because you will contradict yourself. So you have to do it. So this is the difference between, as the text says, did it say new? Yeah, the new system of education and new systems of human behavior. They don't do it. If they do something, they don't explain something. They say, I am sacrificing. Look at the language. For example, I had this, whatever it is, material or immaterial, physical, non-physical, quality and or anything, and I'm sharing it with somebody else. I'm sacrificing. I'm sacrificing it because I had, let's say, simple example, $10. I gave $5 to somebody. It means I'm left with $5. But be careful, the divine wisdom says, whatever you give, you gain. It means if you have $10 and give $5 to the needy one, it means you gained, but you are left with what? Sorry? You are left with, you had $5, but there's a very coarse example that I hate is giving money business. Because they think that they fulfill their humanity. Well, humanity is not the body, man. Serving the body is, comes, I don't know, third, fourth degree. So serving humanity is important. So giving guidance to people, good advice, truth, introducing the truth to them. Yeah. But let's have a simple example. You gave $5, so you have $10. You gave $5 in the teachings of the Prophet. What does it say? You are left with
$10.
$15.
How?
But you get 5 and got another 5. Extra.
But didn't you get your own 5 back?
Sorry?
Didn't you get your own 5 back?
No,
One that you gave.
It is paid. Already paid.
Credit.
Sorry.
You're getting credit.
Yeah.
It's not literally.
So, and the divine guidance always teaches that. whatever you give is an increase in your prosperity. Why? Because you are helping yourself by helping others. For example, if you are a teacher or tutor, you are tutoring somebody and in a subject, what happens at the end?
That knowledge is
In you.
right, as well as
Becomes more solid, well established. You learn better. But outwardly, you think that you shared your information with somebody else, so you have lost some of it. No. You are increasing yourself. That is why these humanitarian activities say when you do something, you are sacrificing and you are helping others. The divine guidance says, on the contrary, when you do any activity of helping other people, or in any case, you are helping yourself. In addition, you get increase in your human qualities. That is why we cannot own it. For example, I have $10. I gave $5 to others. I said, okay, I have now $15. Can I say that I sacrifice something? As far as my human side is concerned, the satisfaction is concerned, because I have not contradicted myself. And I say, yes, this property wasn't mine when I use it in the name of the one who owns the property. It means I acknowledge it, I confirm it, that it doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to me. That's why I cannot get pride of it. But the other side, let's say human behavior side, or the principles of humanitarianism, or says you can be proud of your productions. For example, in any teachings of the divine guidance, can they say you can be proud of your actions? Anywhere in the Quran and Hadith or in other religious tradition, you can be proud of your actions. I don't know about this, let me not confuse other Eastern traditions, but that is for yourself. That's why you benefit from it. So you cannot be proud of it. You have to be thankful for it, because you increased your property, whatever it is. But physically, it may seem to be that we are losing, but I don't think we can. We understand that it is not the case, because when you act in the name of the one who owns you, who owns the property, whatever you have, the property looks very material, but whatever the qualities you have, in the morning you got out of the house and in the street, you've seen your neighbor, you smiled at him and gave him something. Right? Who's happy?
I am.
Joseph? I do something nice. Not a proud, but it's a source of comfort for yourself. But, for example, if you went out the house again, and there was a neighbor next to you, you saw him, and you showed him a black face. What happens? You feel uncomfortable. Yeah. Yourself. Let alone the other one. The other one's attitude has nothing to do with you. You are. Okay. I mean, that's why we need some not materialistic interpretation of beings and behavior, because this is just misleading.
So does it mean that at first I was going to say that it's impossible to act in a selfless manner, but I think what I want to say now is that to act in a selfless manner means to contradict your reality.
No, selfless manner.
Right.
Selflessness described in the by the divine source, divine guidance, not owning it.
Okay.
Selflessness means not owning it. But selflessness, it means that when you do something, you cannot, for example, even if you pray, perform your prayer in Islamic terms. Praying 5 times a day, it is for you. Selflessness means being aware that what you are doing is not for your own benefit. So I'm not saying benefit, yes, for your own, how do you say, selfish satisfaction, selfless satisfaction. It means I'm very thankful. It's very typical advice that we get through the prophets. Anything we do right, or we do something in an altruistic way, we have to be thankful. Because they always emphasize that because you are given the opportunity to do it by your Creator, it means you are benefiting from it. Selflessness, because when you use the selflessness in the context that the materialist humanitarianism uses it, that is a completely distorted form of understanding of selflessness. For example, saying, no, I help these people in any ways, and it wasn't for my interest. So what? It was the interest of that person. He's not aware of what he's doing.
Is this the writing workshop?
It's not.
No?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No
I'm so
worries.
sorry.
Which workshop?
Writing.
I see. The reading workshop. Thinking workshop. not writing. We have nothing to write, so we are learning so far. So that's why when you use the selflessness, you have to contextualize it, whether you are using it in terms of materialistic civilization or divine civilization, if you like. So in the materialistic civilization, it means nothing, something else. Divine civilization, it means in the name of the Creator. You are doing it in order to satisfy your own needs. That's what we are created to. That's why the Quran says we read the text in a strange way, which is a very accustomed way of reading the texts, divine texts. God commanded us to pray, right? So I am obeying the command. Is different from God commanded us to pray. That means I need to pray in order to satisfy my own needs. That's a completely different perspective. Depends on how you read the text. Even sometimes what we do, we read the text, the divine texts, as if we are reading, I don't know, somebody's law book. It doesn't work. That's why the confusion comes that we don't understand where the division, where the difference lies really. So when God says, typical example, don't drink alcohol, it means you need not to drink alcohol as a human being. So if I am obeying the Creator's command, come on, shut up. You are just following your own benefit. God is guiding you how to benefit from your life, from your existence. That's your for yourself. Don't obey me. So But if you don't follow my guidance, it's a guidance. We don't understand usually the way the Quranic teaching or the prophetic teaching is presented in the form of laws and rules, like the traditional Judaic traditional rules. You have to do it because it is required in this way, in that way. That is the influence of this kind of attitude or human weakness. They say, I'm obeying God. But God says, I do it immediately. Why? Because you ask me, He's my creator, I have to obey. It's a very misleading or, how do you say, not giving fruit. Fruitless, or the opposite of this. Do you know the word for it? Very, how do you say?
Detrimental?
No, not detrimental.
Barren,
Sorry?
barren, it doesn't yield any fruits.
Yeah, it doesn't. Let's say it's a good word. Better than what I'm thinking. It doesn't bring any bearings if you obey the command, because you are commanded. But it's a guidance. Any command, for example, the child just walks into the street. Huh? What you say? Stop! What is that? And she said, but my father is shouting at me. I have to obey my father's command. Look how irrational it is. It means, I need to stop. It is good for me. It is advice. It is guidance. It is the command. You cannot read the Quran as the source of command. You have to read the Quran as a source of guidance for you.
But if the child doesn't understand that their benefit is not crossing the street, then they can't get to the point where they see that it's guidance and that it's beneficial to them to not cross the streets. If I don't know why I am being told that it's in my benefit not to drink alcohol, for example, then do I not drink it anyway, or do I wait till I figure out why it's... Because otherwise I'll be a child as well.
Good, thank you. As a child. How old are you? Don't tell me. Something more than 20. Yeah? Good. So it was just an example. You know, we shouldn't take the example. It means...
No, I'm not taking it literally, but there are things in the Quran that are told to me as a guidance, and if I believe in the overall message, I am convinced that it's beneficial to me, but I don't know why. I still haven't figured out why they are.
Okay, you have to work on it. But for yourself, within your own self.
Right.
And my creator says, I shouldn't do this, I should do that. For example, if someone does not live his traditional, cultural understanding of his religion, cannot understand what they are talking. Because in the cultural understanding of religion, it contradicts. Do you understand? It contradicts without, because God told me and I have to do it. That is what the mentality or the perspective is. But when you leave the cultural religion, leave aside, I don't know what it is. I'm going to start from scratch. Then from scratch, what you develop in understanding the Quran, that it is a guidance for me. My creator says, do this, don't do that. I mean, doesn't only this one, but when it comes to the practical life. And then you will say, whatever the creator asks me to do it for my benefit. Whatever my creator asks me not to do, it is again for my benefit. Look for it, you will find it. I mean, if you see somebody who's drunk and you will say, thank God, I'm safe for it. It's obvious. I mean, gambling, telling a lie, it's obvious. No, it's obvious. But what the people say, unfortunately, we hear this, as I hear, you must hear as well. You know, we have to follow God's commands. We are here to worship God. It means obey God's commands. It is a very simplistic, misleading understanding of worship of God. So we cannot really have two of them together. We have to get rid of one and then put a new one.
If we read the guidance, so guidance says to pray, and we try to understand why we need it. So do we try to rationalize why I may need this or why I should avoid this? You just gave an example. You see someone who's drunk and you think, oh, this is ugly or bad, so now I understand why I'm asked to avoid it. So is this acceptable? You try to rationalize the guidance or the rule?
Now, rationalize is maybe a misleading vocabulary. We have to change the vocabulary. Not only rationalize it, experience it as a human being. For example, how can you rationalize prayer? They do. Some people do. They say, it organizes your daily life. Yeah. It makes you be aware of where you are, what you are doing. That is rationalization, which is called in the language of, let's say, Islamic literature, wisdom side of it. Wisdom side of the actions, which is rationally acceptable, approvable side of the actions, are not the real reason that one should do it. What is this side? What is the other side? Is wisdom, is hikmah in Arabic. And illah, it means it is my God who's telling me this. It must be for my good. Let me see, understand. And for example, pray. Yeah, the most important demand or reminder in the Quran is pray, and give zakat. It means give to charity. Now, what you have to do now, you have to go back to your prayer and try to understand which kind of effect it has within you. Not necessarily that it organizes your daily life. Now there are machines which they have reminders. They can remind you that it is 2 o'clock, it is 5 o'clock, it is sunset now, it is the sunrise now. Everybody can remind you now. It is meaningless. But at the same time, what the technical word is illah. It means divine guidance is helping you how to do it, but it includes in it some benefits as far as the material side of your life. But we don't do it because of that. Or can you give it to charity because it benefits you from your material, from the perspective of your material life? Because material life is losing. But within yourself, you feel, if you like the general vocabulary, great. Maybe you have something, oh yeah, I did something right. And you want to mention to everybody. But this is not it must happen. But not to be proud of it. It means it is a sign that you are within yourself happy with it. It means it is in your nature. You develop yourself. You are happy when you don't contradict yourself. So the perspective changes. Do the same action, give to charity or pray, but perspective must change. Commandments must change into guidance. And so we have to see that divine justice divine guidance is guidance, not commandments. It is interesting to make this distinction, commandments and guidance.
So it feels necessary, I mean, I won't use the word rationalize, but it feels necessary to experience and understand the wisdom behind it. That it has to be so.
So you will experience it not only rationally.
Mm-hmm.
For example, let's say I want to pray. So I have something to do in my work. I have to spare some time for preparing myself for prayer. And spare some time. What happened? How I lost, depending on the person, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, I lost. Rationally, it doesn't make sense. You lost something because you didn't get on with your work. Rationalizing, doesn't work. So what you have to do, when you do this, how do you feel as a human being in your own self? That your creators, the simple thing is, never read the text, divine text, as a source of commandments. It's very simple, guidance. When God says, I believe in God. Why? You have to believe in God, otherwise you will be punished. You will be taken to hell forever. You can take it as a command and believe in God because of the fear of hell. What kind of satisfaction you can get from it? Yeah, you always feel obliged to follow the one who gives you the commandment, like the people who give tax but hate it. Right?
Yes.
I don't want to give it, but if I don't, I know what will follow afterwards. Do you see what I mean? That's why when God says believe in God, it means you need to believe in order to satisfy your own being in this type of life. That's your need. Believe in the hereafter. What does it mean? If you don't believe in the hereafter, look at your life is horrible, meaningless. Falling into ditch at the end, why do you bother about anything? Right.
What if you don't feel there's some guidance or a rule, and you don't feel it's experientially beneficial? So you gave an example, again, a very common example, someone who drinks, you see someone drunk, and you say, I want to avoid this. But what about a person who has one drink and feels relaxed and happy? They say, this experientially is beneficial for me. Then what?
No. Now, rationalization doesn't mean, first of all, we have to establish this one. When God guides, your creator guides, or our creator guides us, it doesn't mean that it should not make sense to us rationally. But you cannot reduce the value of this guidance to rational scope.
Okay.
Right, because you are a human being, you have to experience it. So this drinking alcohol was a simple example. So, for example, do you want to have Do you want to have a mental illness so that it will disable you to think? Will you be happy with it? Huh? But if somebody has that, he has a mental illness, he cannot really control himself properly, he cannot really think properly. If the person says, okay, I can cure you, but I need $1 million, what will you do? If you have, you will do it. Now, drinking is getting rid of your mental ability, intellectual ability. But you are harming yourself. It's obvious, isn't it? Within your own self, with contradicting your own human nature. But by not drinking, you keep sober. And why? While you are a soul, you are satisfied with your existence, with your being. But people may interpret it in the wrong way and justify it. Everybody is free to justify it, but we understand that it goes against the nature of human beings. So, but nature of human beings, not rationally only, because I'm sensitive about this word. You cannot rationalize religion. You cannot rationalize divine guidance, but at the same time, divine guidance does not contradict reason. But it's not really only reasoning. You have to experience it. If someone has not trained himself or herself in learning the divine guidance, and experiencing it in his life, he may find it difficult at the beginning, but in order to understand, but the reason why he doesn't find it easy to do it, because his brain, his understanding is limited to rational justification. So at first, for example, in praying, you don't see any rational justification. You are looking for the rational justification. You cannot see it. That's why some people keep saying that, prayer is good for it. Reminds you. Reminds you what? Yeah, for example, arrange your life. It is a good way of arranging your life. And reminds you that you are a created being. So you have to go and remember that, I have a creator. Yeah, I shouldn't forget. It's okay, but how about really when you really get into it? When you pray, think about what you are doing. When you pray, very simple, in a very simple way, you are experiencing your reality without contradicting yourself and expressing it towards your creator is what I have to do it. Like if you receive a grace, what you do, from somebody, you need to thank. For example, that's one example. Not the prayer is not only one thanking, but consciousness. Are you conscious of what you are doing? What you are doing in this world. In this world. While you are being a created, created being in this world. What do? You express your reality and admit it and present it to your creator and be in contact with him. That comfort, because you realize that you are always in contact with the creator and communicating with him. He's closer. He's always closer. He's your creator. When you realize that you have a creator who is really giving you existence, giving all the abilities, he is the one who provided this world, and you are in his presence. Can you imagine? Your creator's presence. You feel as a human being the full satisfaction within your own senses. Say, yeah, I am with my creator, who is the owner of this universe, who is the one who gave me existence. It is training, when I'm not telling the last thing, but it is a kind of starting point, communicating with your creator, communicating with the one who created you because he loved you to exist. Wow. It means some people symbolizes it with the word, with a certain tradition actually, your beloved. God is what? The creator is what? Our beloved. But if you don't have this sense, my creator is my beloved rather than is my enemy, if I don't obey him, he's going to punish me. What happens? you cannot really in the presence of your beloved, but you are in the presence of a tyrant. And of course, you don't get any pleasure. Submitting yourself to a tyrant or dictator, what shall I do? There is no other alternative. So you are the greatest man. How satisfied you feel? Nothing. Yeah, but on the contrary, you feel belittled. You feel not honored. Yeah, not only humiliated, but in the negative sense, humiliation against human honor. No, I am the product of what? The owner of the universe. Who can challenge me? My boss is the owner of the universe. Yeah. Now, humility in this sense, accepting that you are created, you are given existence. Not really, not humbling yourself. It means accepting your reality. Rather, not that you shouldn't be pleased with your existence. I am very happy that I exist. Why? Because through my existence, I acknowledge that my source of existence, my originator of existence, is the one who owns all everything. Absolute one. I belong to him. That is the expression. The prayer or other activities are the means of expressing your consciousness and consolidating it.
One last thing, Doctor. So what I understand is that if you accept you are created and you receive divine guidance, then you accept that as a standard and you struggle to experience it and understand why I need this. Is that correct, what I just said?
That's a good question. Why do I need this? The answer is, why do I need? The answer is not in the text. Study yourself. But the text says, do this. But of course, by definition, the text or the divine guidance, divine text, gives guidance to you because it is good for you. It's a guidance for you. So you have to understand it within yourself. Sorry, you have to understand it within yourself. Do you get this point?
Yes.
So if you say that, why do I need to pray? I have to go and read the Quran and find it out. You cannot find it. Quran says, or the Quran, the speech of God says, you need this one and this set, and you have to experience it, and you have to try to understand why do you need it within yourself. So check yourself. That's why if one does not know himself, does not know the reality. Yeah, but if someone may know the text itself, that it doesn't mean that he knows the reality. You have to know. We have to know ourselves first.
Your starting point is to accept divine. It sounds like the starting point is to accept divine guidance unconditionally, and then to discover the need within yourself. Then look within yourself.
Then to accept divine guidance unconditionally means to realize that you need divine guidance.
Okay.
It means you need guidance from your Creator. That's the topic of the section, the short section we read today. We need it.
It's not being forced upon us.
No.
Right.
That's what you need.
You're free for that.
Yeah. Why do you think simple example, all the food is created? Because you need it. Why do you think the air is created? Because you need it.
I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you are taken care of. Don't worry. You are or always taken care of by your creator, but look at yourself. So when you read the text, either in the form of the Quran, Quranic text, it's the speech of God, or the advice from the prophet, do this, don't do this, etc. This kind of things. In principle, now if you are happy with this, we have to say, it's not a commandment at all. It is, I need that one. Let me see if I really did it or not. Let me see. It's very easy to understand. If you have the right attitude, it's very easy to understand the value of the guidance from your creator, from our creator. It's very easy. But right attitude is required. That's why some people, not very deep thinking people, they say, why does God need us to pray him, worship him? It's very stupid, simple mindedness. Just ignore it. Because they have never thought anything at all seriously. So you say, okay, start from scratch. Who are you? How do you define yourself? From there, don't argue with this people. No need to argue. Just say, let's talk about what you think you are. How do you explain yourself? Yeah. Okay. Let's go one step ahead. An indication?
Sure. An indication on page 7. Thousands of prophets who appeared among humanity proved their claim to prophethood with thousands of miracles they worked. The prophets who appeared among humanity proved their claim to prophethood with thousands of miracles they worked. These miracles, which form an irrefutable proof and an absolutely true voice, announce and establish the mission and institution of prophethood. These miracles, which form an irrefutable proof and an absolutely true voice, announce and establish the mission and institution of prophethood. They also function.
They means?
These miracles also function as a proof for the existence and oneness of the Creator.
Yeah. Now, the miracles, well, it's not our subject, but it's miracles in complicated or difficult word to understand. Miracles. The Quran, in the Quran, it says, they ask you to show ayah, sign. Some people say miracle. Yeah? In one aspect. In other context, the Quran says, the prophet, somebody gives a name, showed signs to the people. Yeah? My sign is, for example, one of the expressions in the Quran, one of the prophets said, my sign is to be like this, or to do this, and this one is my sign, this kind of thing. The Moses throws his stuff. But at the same time, the same Quran says, those people who ask you to show signs that you are employed by God, they say, my signs are my message. But the same Quran says, same source, in one place, they ask the prophet to show signs. Another, they are expecting a sign from it. Of course, their expectation of sign means in the material form. Another sign, the prophet showed signs to them, and they still denied it or accepted whatever. And in another context, the ayah in the meaning of miracle they ask you to show a sign that proves that you are a prophet. You say, my sign is my message. What is going on? It's a difficult subject, and we have to work on it a lot. I don't know whether we should go into this science, but what we should understand that the physical appearance of the miracles are needed. Physical miracles, doing something extraordinary or something, yeah, are needed for the people who are present in the life of the prophet, because they have not received the message completely, they have not digested the content of the message completely. So somebody comes and, do you think everybody tells lies but the prophets? No, there are. Most of the time, even the most corrupt person speaks truth, but mixed up with lies. Yeah, most of the people don't really tell lies. So are they prophets? So it is not a sign. It's not a sign that somebody may come up to you with an idea which is appealing to you. Right? You have to think about it. Not everybody says the wrong thing. Only the prophets say the right thing. No. But the difference in the prophethood or the messengership is they say, this is from the Creator, from your Creator, from my Creator, from the Creator of the universe. Although what he said is true, another person also says something true. How can I make the distinction between a wise man speaking in a wise way and another man is speaking in a wise way, but says it is from God? The other one says, I thought about it. How can I make the distinction? So for the contemporaries of the prophets, the extraordinary, let's say, extraordinary change of the order of creation on a temporary base, in order to give satisfaction to the hearts of the people, they are there not for the truthfulness of the message, for the status of prophethood, claim of prophethood. Like to make the distinction, be careful. Now, truthfulness of the message needs to be studied. But the status, I don't know. Whether it is from God. Maybe there are many wise people. Have you ever read any book which is not inspired by God and made sense to you? I read many. Many books. Not revelations. They are not inspired by God. Inspired is different. Not revealed by God. We thought about it. As we are created, we think and we come to a right conclusion. Can we not? Not at all. Partially, yes. Not a comprehensive one, not a universal one, I understand. But at the same time, yeah, I may tell a sentence which makes sense to you. How can you make the distinction? So the miracles, the physical appearances of the miracles which this text is talking about, here, short indication that we read is physical manifestation of some kind of creation which the people understand that no one can do it at that time, at least. But this man is performing it. It is impossible for this man to do that. Yeah. And they say, okay, why? In the following sentence was what? What was it? the miracles also function as a proof for the existence of oneness of the Creator. It means only the one who establishes, who is the creator of this order of the universe, can change it. Can anyone change the order of the universe? Can anyone? They just follow the law, follow the order. Even they may change the genes,
That's within the order too.
so it's in the order. They follow the order. They don't change the order of the universe. They follow the order. But the order which was not known to human beings, and he discovered it when found it in the order. So only the one who owns the universe can change it. When you see that it's changed, all of a sudden, oh, that the universe has been owned by somebody who is the one who established order, and he is not changing it. You understand? That's the sign also for the evidence of the proof, or as an evidence for the existence and oneness of the Creator, the absolute ownership of the universe by the one who has given existence to it. Now, this is something else. The last part is something in the text we talked about. Otherwise, we will go back to the miracles now. For example, Moses' miracles. All right? Have you seen it?
No.
I haven't either. What shall we do? Nothing. What we have to do now, because it is narrated by the one whose knowledge, whose comprehension is infinite. So I have to see the universal message in it rather than physical appearance of it. That's why some verses of the Quran says, they ask you to give the sign, they say, no, there's no sign, that's my message, work on it. Think about it. On the request of the people who really want to challenge the prophets. On the challenge, no. Even if you are careful, in the narration of the Moses' narration, we are not experiencing the physical appearance of it. In the narration of the Moses' life, or his relationship with Pharaoh, a tyrant, whoever he is, doesn't matter, a tyrant. Moses presents it. Look, I am not challenging your authority. I am not challenging your throne. I am not after anything at all. Look, I am giving you the message which is created by the one who owns this universe, the order of the universe. So the stick becomes a snake, but there's a big one, typhon, how are they called?
Python.
Sorry?
Python.
Python. Oh, everybody's frightened. Now, okay, it's an extraordinary dry stone becomes Python. Yeah, but it's extraordinary. So Pharaoh is challenged there. Example. And what he says? You are the master magician. You are a magician. Doesn't want to accept that it's something extraordinary. Right? At the end, he is defeated because no magic worked against Moses. That is how the narration goes. But don't you know that the one who narrates this in the Quran, I have not seen it. I don't know. He should know it. Yeah? By definition, he should know it. So, Why does he keep telling me this message then? Because I don't know. I cannot really approve it. I cannot really confirm it. Why do you think he narrates, my creator narrates this event to me? I have to see the message in it, not the physical appearance of the miracle. So what is the Moses? Moses' message is a dry wood turns into a python, swallows all the other false magics. What is that message? So you have to have this message. All the false ideology will be swallowed by it. That's what we have to understand and interpret the physical narrations of the miracles. So, for example, Abraham was thrown into fire. He wasn't burned. Yeah, for example, if somebody, let's say, tries to harm you because of your belief in God, right? Can they really harm you at all, your belief? They harm your flesh. Impossible. So every one of us is Abraham. If you know that I am consistent in my belief, no one can harm you. Even they kill you, they don't harm you. They kill your body. They don't kill your humanity. They kill your spirit. Right? So the message is there. You can understand. But of course, the tradition turned into all sorts of physical appearances of the miracle narrations in the Quran or in other books. So it becomes difficult for us to understand. So the Quran says, what I understand from it, look, if you are Abraham, it means if you share and have the belief of Abrahamic tradition, no one can harm you. Yeah, can they? What they can do at the most, they kill your body, flesh. They cannot really harm your belief at all. It is saved. But they say, before becoming an Abraham, don't throw yourself into the fire. You get damaged. So first become an Abraham. It means educate yourself through the teachings of Abraham. It's very simple. And then don't worry about anything. No one can harm you. Really, no one can harm you. I believe even the physically they cannot harm you. Even physically. If you follow the tradition without mixing up with your anger, ambition, etc., or false ego, how can you do that? That will challenge you. Then it doesn't work. Then you get harmed. So these are the messages we have to understand them. So the word, for example, miracle is in Arabic is mu'jizah. There is no such word in the Quran. Everything is used, or whether people asking to show miracles is ayah, sign. The others say that the prophet showed them the miracle. They still didn't believe it. Ayah, the sign, the same word. And those people asked the prophet to show any prophet actually, to demonstrate or to give us, to show us a miracle so that we will understand that you are employed by God. The word is ayah. The sentences of the Quran are described as ayah. The universe, any existing being in the universe is described as ayah. How many meanings combined together? 5, 6 meanings combined together under one umbrella, ayah. So we have to understand that from one aspect, in the time of, let's say, Moses, stuff is needed, ayah. Later on, the message is needed, ayah. People expect to show us an ayah. They mean because they are materially conditioned, their mind, they need material evidence. And the prophets have no material evidence for you now. Have you seen Muhammad performing some some miracle, as we understand it? I'm not saying it. They narrated, maybe, yeah, okay. But those people need it, definitely. So if someone comes to you and said that, you know, look, oh, I have a wonderful idea and it's from God, you suspect. So they are human beings. That something makes sense. A reminder, we are here, inshallah. Next Saturday and Wednesday and Saturday. Inshallah? Thank you very much. Jazakum. Thank you. Okay. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين وحمد سورة